Where my girls at? Where my girls at? Independent, free spirit. Ooh, it's something serious. Where my girls at? We link up in a cool minute. Where my girls at? It's going down, down. Where my girls at? It's going down, down. It's going down tonight. We going out tonight. Yeah, right. We going out tonight. It's going down tonight. Yeah, right. It's going down tonight. We going out tonight. Yeah, right. We going out tonight. It's going down tonight. Yeah, right.
We link up. We are ready for you. Are you ready for us? We are ready for you. We are ready for us. Oh my gosh, we are coming in hot. We got issues today with your girl, Katrina Harris Earl, and the force of friendship. My good girlfriend, Sabrina Goodwin Monday, Gloria Mayfield Banks, Chrisette Ellis. You know, every day we talk about it. Who is the messy one? Who is the funny one? Who is the classy one? Who is? Can you hear me good? I might be a little fuzzy for the Facebook audience, but y'all got me good. That is awesome. Y'all know we got issues. Sometimes it's internet issues. Sometimes it's other kind of issues. We got issues all the time. But the good thing is we don't have the same issues all the time. We talk about it all. We bring it to you. It's not Pollyanna. We keep it real and we break it down. And we love when you call in and you help us to keep it real and give us your perspective, which might be the same as ours, might be totally different. We appreciate you keeping it clean, but keeping it real. Come on. Tell us what you think about the topic we're talking about today, because yesterday, the girlfriends, all my girlfriends were not here yesterday. The alter egos were here yesterday. So if you missed that show, oh my gosh, you got to follow us at theforceoffriendship.com, and it will tell you all the different ways you can listen to us. Of course, we are on 9:10 a.m., the Superstation WFDF out of Detroit, but y'all, you can catch us. There's no excuse for you to miss a show. You can listen on Roku. I'm still trying to figure out how to bring it up on Alexa. Michael, you might have to teach us that. But Apple TV, I mean, you name it. If it's a device that has podcasting or radio on it, you can catch the girlfriends every day, Monday through Friday from 6 to 7 p.m. Central Time, Eastern Time. Oh Lord, you can tell I'm in all the time zones right now. I am in California, and I'm going to pass it to the girlfriends. I want to hear what is up with the girlfriends today. It is another sunny day here in beautiful Brentwood, California, and a sunny, mild day. I think we got 60 degrees today. So I know some of y'all might not have 60, and there might be some of you that are in Hawaii or Florida who might have me beat. So call us at 313-778-7600. Sabrina, with your hot glasses. Okay, hold on. I hope you are following every one of these girlfriends. Sabrina at Sabrina Monday. Sabrina speaks all the time, literally morning, noon, and night. She speaks. If she is awake, she speaks. But
Okay.
on Mondays, I don't know how she keeps up with everybody, but she know everybody's
She
everything.
does.
And you want her to. If she don't know your everything, if she don't remember something, you like, something must be wrong with Sabrina. But girl, you are good at keeping up. So you got to follow my girlfriend at Sabrina Monday. When I tell you her Sabrina speaks, I told her, y'all saw it. Oh my gosh, that is hot. That video is hot. Yo, eyeshadow was hot. Yo, everything was hot on her Instagram. So you got to follow her and check it out. Sabrina, speak to the people. Tell them how you doing. You got to unmute yourself. Sabrina, you speaking, but the Facebook people can't hear you because you're muted. So,
oh, wow. Can you hear me now? Okay.
Now we got you.
Okay. I'm so glad that we're here. We had so much going on yesterday. What a football game that was. We didn't even talk about the game the other day. I mean, Bama, Georgia hit that championship. First time in 41 years to win a national championship. That was a good game.
I told
You
you.
did, Chris.
I told
You did,
I
Chris.
told
You
you.
right.
Now, what you got to say about that?
Good job, Chrisette. Good job, Chrisette.
I'm gonna start watching
y'all
football.
And y'all had your faces
I'm gonna stop watching football.
Look,
I'm gonna stop watching football.
Me.
I'm gonna stop watching football and start watching people who watch football. That's what I'm starting doing.
Exactly.
That would be Chrisette. That would be Chrisette. Okay.
Exactly.
So it was
Katrina, you watch football?
Congratulations. Congratulations to the dogs, man. When I tell you they showed up and showed out, that was awesome. I'm excited about the history-making quarters with Maya Angelou being printed on the quarters. I can't wait to get my hand on the quarters that Maya Angelou. It's actually a series of quarters that women are going to be printed on. So we should all be excited about that. And
That's
Sabrina.
That's a show.
Sabrina.
Yes.
It's interesting. They were talking about that on The View the other day. And Whoopi, I mean, while they're excited, they were kind of like giving a side eye because originally it was supposed to be not Maya Angelou, but someone was supposed to be on the $20 bill. And they were like, how are you going to go from a 20 to 25 cents? So that was a big discussion that they had on The View the other day, talking about how we've been waiting for the $20. And I got to look up, and I'll have the name after when we come back from the break.
Tubman, wasn't it?
It might have been Harriet Tubman. I don't know why I think it's somebody else, but it could have been Harriet Tubman. But whoever it was, their discussion was, how do we go from a $20 bill to just 25 cents? However, they were thankful to get that, but they were just kind of giving it a side eye. So I just thought that was interesting that you brought that up.
It's true, Chris, in a time that nobody carries coins. I mean, I'm trust me, I will carry some coins just so I can use my Angelou, but that's all I carry. I don't carry no coins. So interesting.
Well, I guess I can say, you guys, it's a step in the right direction. We got to keep pushing to be printed on the dollar bills for sure. But I'm glad that we're being acknowledged some kind of way, somehow. Not settling, but come on, let's start somewhere. But how about this? Some call voting restrictions upheld by Supreme Court Jim Crow 2.0. Now, the voting restrictions that are being upheld, y'all, we got to pay real attention to this. Because when I tell you we're going backwards, we're going backwards. I can't even believe we're having these conversations. I won't take up all of this. I want to say hello, keep it moving. It's cold, but when I tell you it was 41 degrees, and that's a heat wave because it was 13 yesterday at Geneva on the Lake. So I'm excited about our heat wave. Yes, Chrisette, how are you?
I am doing good. I'm doing good. We had a little heat wave here, about 30 something degrees. So opened the door and I was like, oh, okay. I actually went out without a coat for a few minutes, but yeah, absolutely warming up. But of course, we know that can change in a twinkling of an eye. And so today I'm really excited. I got most of my Christmas things down. So my house isn't looking a lot like Christmas anymore. So got a lot of that done on today. But, one of the things that was in the news that I wanted to talk about, I meant to mention it on the other day. What do you guys think about the tennis star, Novak Djokovic, and his situation? I mean, he's over in Australia. He's a non-vaxxer. Australia has all of these very strict rules. There have been people that they put in this special hotel or somewhere where, if you have COVID, you can't come out. There's a lot going on with that. And so he's trying to go and to play in the Australian Open because he is the undefeated champion there. And they were just talking about there are people that's for him, but then there are a whole lot of people that are just saying, you know, that's a double standard, which me personally, listening to the story, I personally think it is a double standard. And then on top of that, they found out that when he got tested, he found out later that he had COVID and still did an interview with French reporters and took pictures and all of that without a mask on. To me, his integrity is shot. I personally don't think that they should let him play. I think they need to send him back, and he needs to think about what he did. Come on. If they didn't what's our girl that couldn't play in the Olympics because she had some weed in her system? Well, you know what?
Right.
I think that the same thing that they did to her should apply to him. You got COVID and you're going to do an interview. You don't know if those French reporters had been vaccinated or boosted. What if one of them caught it from you and ended up dying? Are you going to say, talking about you had a lapse of judgment? Come on. At this point, I promise you, it ain't no lapse of judgment. We've been in a pandemic for 2.5 years. That ain't going to make it, buddy. Lapse of judgment? No, that don't cut.
Tell us how you really feel. Tell us how you really feel. I agree. Okay.
With the neck roll and everything first. Don't get her going. Don't get her going. Okay. Okay.
That's real. That is so real. I can't even imagine an anti-vaxxer would disagree with that. I mean, okay, you don't believe in a vaccine, but clearly, if he knows he's positive, you don't go around people. That's just crazy. Who would disagree with that?
Right.
Who would disagree with that? Gloria, what's on your mind?
Oh, I mean, for real. I'm just glad to be back. It's boring right up in here. I don't have the hair today. I don't have the hair. But when I tell you, let me tell you, ladies, you want some attention? Put on a fancy wig. Put on a fancy wig. They come for you. I'm going to have to go back to luxury for real, because that alter ego thing was real fun, and really going to come back to it for sure. But you know what? I want to say first, I think that he is absolutely wrong for going to Australia. He is absolutely wrong for asking for privileges that aren't granted to everybody else. He's absolutely wrong knowing that he made that decision, that he wanted everybody to adjust for the decision. And then it was multiplied by him finding out that he had COVID and then had an interview. So I just want to put my little 2 cents in there too. And I want to go back. I know we're not doing no Debbie Downer show, but I will tell you, it is not a Debbie Downer show when you know that you have something to fight for. And these voting rights acts are super serious. And when you start thinking about the fact that you can't give somebody a bottle of water, it just is a huge light as to how far people can loudly go on something that they're not afraid to push through. And so it's really important that we're very loud and that we're very vocal and that we call and write and just let everybody know that this is a very serious situation and that everything cannot always be so political that they lose sight of the privileges that we all have. The way we are today is because of the privileges that we've voted on along the way. And so I'm just very passionate about that situation. So I'm glad you brought that up, Sabrina. But Katrina, you looking sexy with your one shoulder out, baby. Go ahead, girl.
I'm telling you.
Okie dokie. The international radio everywhere. Y'all need to see it. You need to know. You need to know.
You need to know. You need to know. I'm telling y'all, it is challenging with these girlfriends. The girlfriends know I've had issues and cannot wear lashes for so long. And when you are around these girlfriends and you cannot wear lashes, you better believe I'm looking for somebody who would make me some. I'm gonna find some lashes I'm not allergic to. And I'm telling you, when you're around these chicks, you need a shoulder or something, okay? You try to do as much as you can from the eyes down. I just want to remind the audience, I can't speak enough on this. I sent it to the girlfriends again. You can tune in to ABC tomorrow to see the Let the World See. It is about the grieving mother of Emmett Till, and it's his story. And it is Michelle Obama's featured. And it's if you missed the first series, because it's 3 or 4 parts, you can watch it on Hulu also. But when I tell you, talking about voting rights, At first, my mother said to me, "Oh my gosh, with everything going on, I don't know if I can take this heavy story. Why are they showing this right now?" And as we began to watch it, it became evident why they are showing it right now, because it was the political pressure that, I mean, the mother, her Emmett Till's mother, Mamie, she was a beast about making sure that justice was done and justice was served. And seeing that story, it just tells us the importance of the fight, and we cannot let down now. So make sure you tune into that. Before we go to break, what are we talking about today? How to get a return on your failure. How to not fail back, but fail forward. We will be right back. Thank you, Michael, in the background working for us. Dorothy in the background working for us. You want to be a part of this conversation. Call us 313-778-7600. We'll be right back. Michael in the background. Oh my goodness. We appreciate you. I said, Michael, I need some good music that goes along with this, because we are survivors. I got some questions and I'm just going to share. I went to a workshop with Dr. John C. Maxwell, and he talked about this return on failure. And I said, I think Sabrina, I talked to you afterwards, and I said, I felt like I had a mental chiropractic adjustment, because we can beat ourselves up some kind of way when we are not exactly where we want to be. So I have a question for the audience. How often have you failed? Okay. How about just today? Okay. And I want to ask you this question. It happens a lot. It happens a lot. And so I want to talk today about what it means to fail. We're going to talk about why failure happens and what it means. And I'm going to share a bunch of tips with you today. But I just want to ask the girlfriends, what would you say are some of the best lessons you have learned from failure that have caused you to fail forward instead of fall back? Who wants to share?
Wow. I have one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I have a when I went through a divorce, which is probably one of the biggest situations, I don't necessarily know that it's a failure, but I can tell you I learned a tremendous amount of lessons from that situation. And one of it is patience, to really listen to what you know, like to really, I saw it before I stepped in there and I ignored it. So I am now the lesson I took from that is to pay attention to what I see. And when someone shows you who they are, you got to believe them. But you also have to balance that with forgiving people for mistakes that they might make. But I totally saw what I chose to ignore. And it started a huge ball of wisdom and a huge mastering on emotional management skills.
That is so good. I was looking for my notes that I wanted to share with you guys. And one of the things I wanted to say as we start this conversation is everybody fails and no one likes it. And so the
Right.
key is, how do you take failure and get a return on it? We've all heard of ROI, which is a return on investment. We've heard of ROT, which is a return on your time. But this is a totally new concept. Just to think of it this way, ROF, a return on your failure. Sometimes you win and sometimes you learn. How about taking that? Instead of winning and losing, sometimes you win and sometimes you learn. I know a lot of coaches will say that some of the things that have helped a lot of winning teams, talking about sports, is what they learn from their losses, right? So many people take an L. I was talking to my girlfriend who is a day trader, and she said, I've been taking L's all week. But if she stopped, that's taking a loss in the market. They say taking an L. And if she stops, if she lets that stop her, she won't get to the big wins that I know she'll have. So one of the things that we want to encourage the tribe to do is relax, because whenever you try something the first time, don't worry, you won't be good. Okay. Whenever you do something for the first time, I mean, if when you play, if you're really good at playing a particular game and you play with someone the first time and they win, what do we call it? Beginner's luck, right? Because we know that most of the time when I've done something the first time, it's not that good. But when opportunity comes, it's too late to get prepared. You have to be willing to just jump in and go for it. And so we say this so much. We've said this in our business. I've asked people this question before. What would I attempt to do if I knew I couldn't fail? But the situation is, when you think about that question, I mean, it's kind of a loaded question, because it's impossible to not fail some of the time. So a better question to ask is, what would I attempt to do if I knew that my failure would give me a positive return? So I'm going to share a couple of these tips and ask the girlfriends to give some feedback. Think about this, you guys. The goal is not to fail less, but it's to fail more. Stop being embarrassed. A lot of times people don't try things because they're embarrassed that they're going to fail. So the first point, and y'all jump in, is number one, keep failure and success together. Don't separate it. We tell people to be careful and don't fail. It happens even. I remember the first time I was babysitting Steven. He's, overgrown man now, but I remember I was babysitting him. We had a swimming pool in the backyard. And I remember I kept saying, be careful, don't fall in the pool. You don't know how to swim. Be careful. And I remember his mother caught me and said, you are introducing him to failure. Your words are literally making him afraid of something he didn't even know he could be afraid of. Now, my goal was I didn't want to fall in the pool, but she adjusted me, and wow, be careful, because we tell people, be careful, don't fail. And certainly we want to protect our kids from, drowning or getting burned, but we have to be careful. You want to set people up to win, and be careful with your words. So you want to not separate success from failure, because they go hand in hand. One of the things that you'll find is success can be a lousy teacher. It makes people who are succeeding think that they cannot lose. So can you think about a time that actually maybe failing at something helped you to get better at doing it, instead of just, something that came easy? There are all of us have things that are easy for us and things that are harder for us. So can you give an example? Chris, can you think of anything?
Well, you know what? I can think of,
I
just
can't hear you
being pushed.
on the radio.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was saying I can think of just being pushed out of the comfort zone, being pushed into the limelight, not necessarily knowing exactly, especially when it came to becoming the first lady of Greater Grace Temple, which I just figured, down the line, way down the line, when I was way older, way more experienced, and would know, have way more wisdom to share, that, I would be ready for the position. And so there was a lot of times where I was intimidated about, being upfront, because, I wasn't prepared for it at that time. And I know that a lot of those fears really could have stifled me and stopped me from really being able to be a great first lady when it comes to being able to handle the mic, handle the stage, be in front of people. So I think that, sometimes lack of experience sometimes, and when you just see the bigness of something and then you see yourself as smaller and not being able, you don't see yourself fitting into the bigness of whatever it was. But I think over time, I just had to have a coming to Jesus meeting with myself and said, all you can do is the best that you can do right now. And as you grow and as you learn more, then you can be better. So, and then I'm going to tell you what really has helped me is that I totally realized that most people would not want to be in my position. They would not want to be at the mic talking. They're glad that it's me and not them. So when I think about it that way, like, chill out, because people sitting in the seat are saying, "Oh, I'm so glad she got the mic and I don't have the mic and I can sit back." And the reason I'm saying that is because I know I've often looked at people and said, "Woo, I'm so glad it's them and not me." And now it's me that's in that position. So just giving yourself grace. Giving yourself grace.
Chrisette, Terry Sams on Facebook said, "Did any other first ladies mentor you?"
Oh, that's a great, you know what? I would say that's a real interesting question. And I'll say it this way. Growing up at a church, my pastor's wife had some mental challenges, so she was never there. So I never grew up at a church where there was a first lady that I could look to one day say, that's who I'm going to emulate. And in a way, I'm kind of thankful because I didn't get into the position with preconceived ideas. But I will say that after, I was thrust into that role, of course, I had people, my mother-in-law, she was a great role model. I had other people that I had admired from afar. But as a young lady growing up in church, I did not have that kind of role model because my pastor's wife was absent.
It's interesting. That is interesting. That's a great question and a great example. A great quote is, "Success is going from failure to failure without losing your enthusiasm." Being willing to try again and again. Sitting on my desk is a Post-it note. And do you know that the Post-it notes were failures because he was trying to find an adhesive that would stick. And instead, he kept throwing it in the garbage, and his secretary found it and said, "This is actually perfect for me." And that is where the Post-it note came from. It was a failure. And so a couple people that I recently have heard speak, Jamie Kern Lima, who is the It Cosmetics billion-dollar company, sold. Gloria, you were on the speaking stage with her, and she talked about when QVC told her no and all these people told her no, how setbacks have shaped her life. That literally, her story is amazing. Sarah Blakely of Spanx, her father at the dinner table used to ask her, what did you do? What did you fail in today? What did you fail in today? That's like interesting. Just, what happens at dining room tables that can cause people to go on and have a billion-dollar company. So right before we go to break, when we come back, I'm going to talk about why people fail to achieve their goals. But the big thing I want you to take away from today, the girlfriends want you to take away from today, is that you fail forward to success. So the second thing you want to be sure to do is understand the difference between good misses and bad misses. So we're going to talk about that when we come back. Most see hits and misses, but actually there are some good misses and there's some bad misses. There's some failures that you don't learn from, and then there's some that help to make you better. So stay tuned. The girlfriends are taking you to another level in success today by failing forward to success. We'll be right back. Okay. You are back. You're listening to We Got Issues. And we're talking about a kind of, it's not a light topic. It's not a sad topic, but it's a real topic that can make a difference in helping to build successful people. And it's about how to have a return on your failure. And so if you're just tuning in, we talked about the importance of keeping failure and success together. And then I just started talking about understanding the difference between good misses and bad misses. Most people see hits and misses, but actually there are good misses and bad misses. A lot of times what makes it a bad miss is when you just make an excuse, because excuses are like exits on the freeway. They could just take you off course. So when you miss, you just got to be sure that it helps you to be better and that it causes you to pivot or make adjustments. Does it totally discourage you, or does it encourage you to come back again? Since we're talking about sports, going to quote John Wooden, and he talked about when the team would have a cheap win, that sometimes they would have a cheap win, which was a win when they didn't give it their all. And sometimes they would have a good loss, a loss that they really would learn from, and it helped them be better. So Sabrina, I want to ask you, you live in a house full of champions, okay? Everybody in there, including Rio, knows how to win, but winning and losing, it kind of goes hand in hand. So how did you teach the kids? How did you teach the boys as athletes? How did you help them with that? Because I know that, you win some, you lose some, but you learn from them all. So how did you teach them?
This is such a great topic, Katrina. Thanks for bringing it to us. And you're right. I mean, you could see we're kind of somber talking about losing and failures. It doesn't feel good. Nobody likes to lose, but it's part of the fabric of life, and you do learn from them. I didn't quite understand where you were going when you said there's goodness and badness. Some you don't learn from. And
good misses and bad misses. Good losses and bad losses.
Yeah, but I think you said something about you don't learn from them. I don't know, but I just can't think of a loss where you don't learn. I'm sure they're out there, but the Monday family, we are not new to it. We are true to it. We do a lot of losing in this family. We do. We have lost a lot, but we've won so much. And we do know that losing is a part of winning. It just is a part of it. And so we know that you don't learn from success, you learn from failure. That's what we've always taught the kids. We're highly competitive. When you have D1 athletes and Olympic gold medalists as a coach, losing sucks. Everybody wants to be the Monday. When we go to a gym, when we go to a big arena, you can hear people, we're going to get that Monday kid. And when they lose, we just beat the Monday kid. It's like they beat the Olympic himself, And I'm trying to be cool, like, okay, I know I'm a national sales director, but I'm about to go off on somebody. I'm about to go off, okay?
No, Octavia gonna go off.
Octavia, baby. Yes, Octavia, yes. And so we have just always taught them, and Kenny and I differ on this because I would be the positive one saying, it's not a loss. You either win or you learn. And Kenny's like, no, a loss is a loss. No, he lost and we got to get better. And I'm like, okay, but he's still learning, okay? He's still learning. Just this past weekend, you guys, Quincy wrestling for Princeton. We wrestled North Carolina State. Quincy ranked number 5 in the country. He wrestled a number 11th ranked kid in the country. Quincy lost 6-4. Hurt. It took him from number 5 in the country. He dropped way down in the rankings to number 11. And so, yeah. And so it doesn't feel good. Everybody's feathers fell in the family. The family chat is going off. And of course, I'm like, okay, it's over. We get better. We learn from it. It's not the end of the world. It's not the end of the world. We just learn and keep moving forward. So it's just programming your mind and knowing that it's a temporary state. We have failed so much in life, haven't we? The force of friendship. We failed as a group. How long we been trying to do this thing? Okay. We started with 7 girlfriends. Now it's 4 of us. I don't know who's gonna be next, but
Don't stand on the end. Don't stand on the end.
Don't stand on the end in
Just
this
the fact
group.
that you couldn't think of a time that you didn't learn, that in and of itself tells us a lot, because there are a lot of people that really don't learn. They give up and they never try again. They did it one time, it didn't work, and so they just make a blanket statement, I'm not good at that, and they never go back to it. What were you going to say, Chris?
Katrina, I wanted to add, when you said that, I just thought about something.
Again.
It had some
Good
noise in the
misses and
background.
bad misses.
Okay, right. No, I was going to say, when you said that, I just thought about when you're talking about failures and return from failures, you can use that. And Gloria, you kind of alluded to it a little bit when you talked about your divorce, but in relationships, you know, how many times have you failed in a relationship, whether it is dating or whether it is, you know, in your marriage? And many times, whatever the situation is, you can either be bitter or become better. And how many people that have been hurt in relationships say, I will never let that happen to me again. So they end up closing off their heart and say, you know what, I just don't want to be hurt. And so, Gloria, if I were to use you, you could have easily gotten divorced and said, you know what, I'm just going to have a good time. I'm never looking for love because I refuse to be hurt that way. So I think it's really important in relationships because, you know, you have to learn. Every relationship stands on its own bottom. It has its own separate issues, and not carry that over to other relationships, because what you learn in one, sometimes maybe you didn't speak up, like you are a whole lot, but sometimes our gut and we end up, you know, in a relationship or end up doing something and we know our inner being told us not to. But going forward, we learn that whenever my gut starts going off and I feel that on the inside, I got to speak it, because I have learned, you know, what will happen if I don't.
That's so good. Another thing that's important to get a great return on your failure is to embrace hard. Embrace hard. Gloria, we've learned this from you. Emotionally, mentally, intentionally embrace hard. We had a conversation the other day that you were sharing, you know, this is how it's going to be. So you can choose if you're going to embrace this, or if, you know, you're going to just continue to make this not mean something positive for you. Everything worthwhile is uphill. Like everything that you want is uphill. It's just, if you are coasting in life, that's the only time you're going downhill. And so it's really important that we learn to embrace hard, that don't expect it to be easy. The dream is free, but the journey isn't. The hustle is sold separately. We've heard that. Life is difficult, is what you just said. And so until you accept that fact that life is difficult, it just will be more difficult, but you'll just be stuck. You might as well have it be difficult, but you're going from another level to another level to another level. So embrace hard, stop complaining, because it is uphill. We're going to go to a caller, Larry, who's going to come on in and talk to us about this topic and what your thoughts are. So Larry, are you there?
Yes, ladies, thank you for making my call. I'll try to be very brief. I just want to leave a statement and or comment in regards to issue about failure. My example would be marriage vows are designed to cover up or to prevent failure if they're practiced correctly. And I'll listen off this in your comment later. Thank you.
Larry, I wish you hadn't hung up so quickly.
Clarification, if you're still there. Marriage vows are designed to prevent failure. Did anybody understand or want to comment on that? I know that for me, waiting till I was 45 to get married, I brought all my singleness into that, and I still am learning. Okay. Sometimes my husband says, remember, you married, because 45 years and 9 years of marriage, I love my husband. We are one. I embrace that. And yet sometimes he's like, you actually went downstairs and didn't bring me something back too, you know, like, I'm like, okay. And I go right back down. I was like, yeah, that would be the right thing to do. So, and that's me. the girlfriends got their own issues. All right. So I'm not exactly sure what you meant by that, Larry, but I know that marriage is a covenant that God intended. It requires you to grow together, and the goal is to grow together successfully. Anybody else want to add, Chris?
Yeah, I just wanted to add, and I wish, Larry, if you can call back in, because to me, if you use the traditional marriage vows, they are meant to cover failure. It says for better or for worse, in sickness or in health. So to me, that kind of covers it all. You're not just with somebody for the good times, you're with them for the bad times. You're not just with them because they're healthy, but sometimes they may, have a sickness. So I really would hope that Larry would call back in, because I didn't really understand what he meant by what he said about the marriage vows.
And aren't two better than one? So the goal is where perhaps the spouse is failing in a particular area, the spouse covers them and is better. So together, you are better together. That would be the goal of marriage. So thank you, Larry, for calling in and for your perspective. Larry, are you there? Michael said you're still on the line. Okay. Okay. Well, we appreciate your perspective, Larry. Thank you for listening in and giving us your perspective. People ask all the time, or they say, I want to be like Mike. I want to be like Mike, or whoever you want to be like. People want to be like Gloria. And so the question to ask is, okay, you want to be like whoever, but do you want to do what they did? Like, do you want to do? One of the challenges of just seeing someone when they're successful, and why we're so grateful that we knew Gloria win. Okay. I knew you win because it helps you to have even a greater appreciation for what it takes to be able to be super bad all day long and what that means. So it's just important. Part of this failure and getting a return on it is not allowing people in your inner circle that don't embrace hard. These are some sisters that we don't give up. We don't quit. We get the job done. We might pivot. We might change the goal. We might decide that is not really for us in this season and go do something else. But we stay the course for what we want. So we're going to, I'm going to bounce back, Gloria. As you talk about, so many times we coach. We only have a couple minutes before we go to break. You might have to bring it in again after the break. But how you have coached people through failure, and I know that so many people are successful because of how you've coached them through failure. So can you start talking about that, or and then we can talk about it more after the break?
Now, I'd like to come back to that, but I will tell you that most of the times there's two questions I want to ask them all the time. The first thing I ask them right off the bat is, do you want to quit? I always ask them, if you fail at something, do you want to quit? If you're on a diet and you fall off the diet, do you want to quit? If you said you're going to work out, do you want to quit? If you set a New Year's resolution and you lost it, do you want to quit? Do you want to quit? Just do you want to quit? Because I can't take anybody anywhere if they've already made up their mind to quit. And then the second thing I always ask them is, what do you want to do about it? Like, what do you want to do about it? And, the one thing you're looking for is, where do they want to grow from it? Back to that point, where do you want to grow from it? What do you want to do about it? Because and the key word in there is what you want to do about it, not what you want to think about it, not who you want to talk to about it, not that you want to copy about it, but what do you want to do about it specifically? So we can come back and talk a little bit more about that. I'd love to hear everybody's opinions on that. That's a good question.
I love it. Bernetta says we are too legit to quit. So you got to keep going, stay the course. We win some and we learn some. All right. We will be right back. Thanks. Call in and join the conversation. 313-778-7600. gotta brush your shoulders off, okay? I'm telling you. Yep, you gotta shake it off. I'm telling you, today we are talking. Thank you for listening in to We Got Issues, and we're learning. I learned so much from hanging with these girlfriends, from joining the show every single day. Some days it's light and fun, like yesterday, your alter ego. Who knows what we're talking about tomorrow? But today we are talking about how to fail forward. And 3 things that I know that we all do really well as it concerns failure is, number 1, if we see failure, we keep moving. We don't stay stuck. That is one thing that's super important. Keep it moving. Don't get stuck. Number 2, we adjust. You adjust. You stay moving, but you adjust. When you fall down, you don't just have to get up so quickly. While you're down there, you could pick something up. Figure out, what adjustments do I need to make? What pivots do I need to make? How can I do it differently? But get back up and keep on moving. And then we keep believing. The mission, this is really important. The mission is greater than the failure. If the mission is greater than the failure, then it stops you from getting stuck on failed or just thinking about me, because it's so much bigger. We kept going and we're here, and we pray that this show, this radio show, is blessing every one of you. And what would happen if we had quit is you would not be here listening to We Got Issues. Get excited. So how many of you would agree that when you get to observe, and it's one of the reasons why we like reality TV so much, but people are encouraged from your failures. When you just talk about your successes, you hear a speaker who just talks about success, you're inspired. But you're motivated, or, it feels good. But when someone talks about how they fail forward, Sabrina, we listen to Bishop Jakes all the time. I know that's your pastor. And the other day I was listening to him talk about back when, all the things he didn't do well. And that is what makes him such a great speaker. Talk about that, how much we are inspired by hearing other people. It's how they talk about it. You don't talk about it while you're in it necessarily, but what they've gone through and what they've learned. Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, I just think you're more relatable when you have been through something. You can teach from a place of vulnerability, of understanding, compassion. If you haven't been through anything, my goodness, how can you really teach it? I think people receive your training, your education, your motivation when you've been there. I love this saying. I heard it years ago, that you cannot teach what you do not know. You cannot teach, you cannot teach what you do not know, and something about where you do not go. I can't even remember what that is. Do you guys know what that is? But the bottom line is, I just think that people respect you when you're not coming from a place where my life is perfect. I've got it all together. Come on. You got to go through something to grow through something. I've always said you have to go through to go through. You got to go to grow through. And so if you're not going through, how do you grow to it? So I just believe that you got to go through something, and to speak from experience, because people want to know that you understand where they are. Now, it's clear. Because I was talking to somebody yesterday who lost her husband and her mother through COVID in the last year. And so I had to make sure that when I was talking to her, because she was wanting me to, there it is. You cannot lead where you do not go. You do not lead where you do not go. Thank you, Carolyn and Denise. And I had to make sure that I didn't say, I understand. I know where you're coming from, because I don't understand that journey. I don't understand that journey. And so I just think that those things are important, to be a listener. They gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. And so it's important to use it that way.
So important. The more you talk about your success all the time and only your success, the greater gap you separate yourself from others. If you want fans, talk about your success. But if you want friends, you want to share with them and be authentic about your flops, your failures, your fumbles. And it's even learning how to talk about them so that it's inspiring and so people can grow. We're not Debbie Downers. We're not coming together to just one up each other on our failures, but it is a reality and it's a part of life. some people, you know, it's really funny. Some of the best comedians, literally, they stand up and talk about the stupid things they've done in life or stupid things people do, period. And it's what makes us laugh, really. So in the beginning, you are not as bad as people think you are. And later on, you are not as good as people think you are. So just even if we could follow around and watch, you know, whoever our fan is, you still would realize, you know what, Beyonce is super bad all day long watching that Homecoming, OMG. But I know we could learn from her failures as well. So the lessons, the most important takeaway today is that you want to fail forward to success. Flipping the script in business, y'all. Just thinking about this, 20% of new businesses fail during the first 2 years. 45% fail in the first 5 years, 65% within the first 10 years. So if you just think about, there will be 843,000 new businesses that started by March 2021. And they guesstimate 168,000 of those businesses will fail. Now, there's all kinds of reasons, and that's a whole other show about what causes them to fail. But the common denominator is you, right? And so it's just, as entrepreneurs, we have learned you got to keep picking up the phone, keep going. So just who wants to add how being willing to fail forward kept us in business? Because we all had reasons to quit, like everybody along the way.
You know, one of the things I wanted to touch on, Katrina, that you were talking about early on is that embarrassment stops us. And so, you know, when you're so busy thinking about how you look to other people, you are afraid to try things. And I think that what we mastered was we were able to identify the win, so you could focus on, you know, you could switch your focus fast. So if you felt like you failed and everybody saw it, or you felt like people were going to talk about you, or you felt like you said it the wrong way, or you felt like you did something wrong, when you inspired yourself or someone kicked you into some form of accountability where you got your refocused on where you were going, you could let it go fast. So I think that's been a big part for even ourselves, amongst ourselves. We are able to sense when one of us is off key for whatever reason. We can sort of click her back over here and say, you know, no, this is what you said you wanted to do. So leave that alone and keep going, you know. And the other thing is that, you know, we're able to embrace our weaknesses. You know, Jackie Glenn says that to us all the time. You know, I know my weaknesses and I embrace them. And so if you know where your weaknesses are and you're transparent about them, then you're allowing some other people to step in and help you, especially when you fall down,
That is so good. So good. I'm going to give you another last nugget. And unless you are driving, you want to grab an ink pen and write these down, because I think this is the best thing, is not just how we learn from our own failure, but how do we learn and benefit from the failure of others. And so this is one of my favorite things I've learned from Dr. John Maxwell about taking people out for a learning lunch. Now, of course, you could do it on Zoom, or it could be a real live lunch, but 7 questions that he teaches that you want to ask when you take someone you admire to lunch. This is really important. Question number 1 is, what's the most important lesson you have ever learned? If you took us to lunch, I mean, and it's just powerful. What's the most important lesson you've ever learned? We could do a whole show just about this. Question number 2, What are you learning right now? What are you learning right now? Asking someone that you're having lunch with, what are you learning right now? Question number 3, how has failure shaped your life? He said that most of the books he's written has come from these learning lunches, taking people to lunch, learning from them, and then he researches it and puts it more in a book. Question number 4, who do you know that I should know? Who do you know that I should know? Networking is big, okay? Number 5, what have you read that I should read? What have you read that I should read? And question 6, and I'll post these for those of you on our Facebook page, or if you're listening on the radio, you can come in and grab it from Facebook. What have you done that I should do? What have you done that I should do? And the last question is, how can I add value to you? How can I add value to you? I'll post those 7 questions that you can learn when you go to lunch with a girlfriend, with a friend, with a mentor, and even with a mentee, because everyone can learn from everyone. So we want you to fail forward. And remember, that not just a return on investment, a return on your time, but you can get a return on your failure. Be better today than you were yesterday. Thanks for listening in, and come on back for Talk to Us on Thursday, because we will have a new topic, and guess what? We got issues, and we will share more about them tomorrow. Bye-bye. Thanks for listening in.